How I Came to Like the Woman in the Picture. Part 10, Somewhere in Time. The movie. There are times and seasons to our lives, phases you might call them, and the date, which had been July 9th, 2009, marked for myself a major turning point. Up until that point in time, the many dreams and coincidences, signs and clues in regards to the so-called mystery woman of my dreams, whom would have seemed also to be some sort of woman in a picture, and more recently the theme of time travel, were all told, all together, only here and there curiosity-type phenomenon, and with little, if any, real-life application. However, it is all the while possible there come a time when the sheer number of coincidences proves so profound that one has to wonder if some great cosmic something or other is not trying to get our attention in regards. Well, on July 9th, 2009, that time for me finally came. Now, I had mentioned in the previous chapter about a sort of Japanese YouTube type site. Here were older movies, most of which I had seen before. Anyway, so there I was on July 9th, 2009, scanning over again this list in the hopes I might find some movie which I had perhaps never seen before. I noticed the title Somewhere in Time. Never heard of that one. It starred Christopher Reeve. I decided to give this movie a try. It was the opening scene that struck me most of all. An old woman approaches Christopher Reeve's character, name of Richard Collier, places in his hand one of those old-style pocket watches, and says, "Come back to me." Long story short, this old woman had been Collier's girlfriend way back in the year 1912. Collier is a time traveler, only he doesn't know it yet, and wouldn't know it until years afterward when he is staying at an old hotel and sees in the hotel's Hall of History room a picture of a beautiful woman. He falls in love with the woman in the picture and seeks to find out who the woman in the picture might be. Finally, he discovers that the picture had been taken in 1912. Collier afterward visits a professor for advice and then hypnotizes himself in order to travel back in time to see the woman in the picture. Now, the hotel in the movie is significant too, as it becomes Richard's gateway or window between his time and the time wherein the woman from the past, who is the woman in the picture, exists. The movie itself, Somewhere in Time, is actually quite sappy, kind of pathetic even. I mean, if a guy really truly had been able to go back in time to 1912, highly doubtful he would be so preoccupied with meeting some chick. But I didn't care. There was so much here otherwise. Time travel, a woman in the picture. It was all starting to come together. Granted, I hadn't a clue yet what it all meant. But anyhow, there was something here. Had to be. But why tell you when I can instead show you? Here are a few scenes then from this movie, Somewhere in Time. Scenes which had stood out for me at the time of viewing, and which, if you have been following along so far in this YouTube presentation, you can maybe understand why they had stood out for me.
Come back to me. was a costume from one of the plays she was in.
Miss Roberts, what was she like? May I?
Of course.
This is incredible. This guy, Finney, he was my philosophy teacher at Millfield.
Really?
Yeah.
She read that book over and over.
Can you hold a moment? We've just got to take that photograph.
Oh, very well. Just a moment. I have to change.
Focus on that loveliness. Oh, yes. I'm just going to put in the plate. A moment. There we go. A little smile, please. Not quite. Perhaps you could think of something happy or bright. Yes, that's it. Hold it. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
This woman in the picture in this movie, Somewhere in Time, I did believe to be symbolic of the mystery woman of my dreams. Watching this movie, and especially after having those back-in-time coincidences in dreams the weeks and months prior, so it was for the very first time I began to wonder if the mystery woman of my dreams, who was the woman in the picture apparently, might not be a woman at all, but instead something more along the lines of like a memory. A woman from the past, rather. I didn't know if this made any sense at all. All I knew was that there was something here, and I was excited. Meanwhile, there was the woman whom I had a vow to, Leia. Now, after watching this movie, I began to have some serious doubts as to whether or not Leia might be the mystery woman of my dreams, and irrespective of whatever vow I had to her. The part with the picture, the part with the time travel, it didn't fit with Leia. It was partly done out of guilt, i.e. that I was indulging thoughts about some mystery woman who might not be Leia. Meanwhile, I had a vow to Leia. Partly out of frustration, i.e. that Leia still had a claim on me with that vow. And partly my wanting to share my excitement with someone, anyone, and my figuring that Leia, as friend, as good friend, would have been positively ecstatic were I to know more than just check in to say hi. I later on that night decided to email Leia after not having emailed her for about 6 months. Was some woman from the past the mystery woman of my dreams? Now Leia understood and appreciated, no doubt, spiritual truth, or at least somewhat of spiritual truth, for I had at her request, in the past, shared books with her on the subject by a few of the old mystics. Leia then, I figured, more than anyone else in the world, might have some notion as to what was going on.